Let's begin. Most homes are not quiet because nobody disagrees. They are calm because somebody learned how to disagree well. So here is a question worth sitting with for a moment. What if the goal was never zero conflict at all? What if a home with no friction is not actually a sign of peace, but a quiet sign that somebody, somewhere, stopped saying the true thing? Because every couple disagrees. Every family does. The people who love each other most are usually the ones bumping into each other most often, simply because they share the most life. The difference between a steady home and a stormy one is almost never how much they argue. It is how they argue. So let us talk today about how to argue well. Not how to win, not how to be right, how to disagree in a way that leaves the relationship a little stronger than it was before the fight even started. Here's the surprising part. There is a whole body of research on this, decades of it, watching real couples work through real disagreements in real time. And the headline finding is almost cheerful. Conflict itself does not predict whether a relationship lasts. Happy, lasting couples fight, sometimes loudly, about real things. What separates them from the couples who drift apart is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of a few quiet rules. Watch this idea build for a second, because it reframes everything that follows. Picture two homes, side by side. Same stress, same money worries, same tired Tuesday evenings. One home runs its disagreements through a set of simple guardrails. The other lets them run wild, wherever the heat takes them. Over a single year, those two homes drift to completely different places. Not because one was handed an easier life, because one had better rules. So let us walk through those rules, one at a time. They're simple, that's the point. You're not trying to become a therapist, you're just trying to fight like people who plan to stay. Rule 1, one topic at a time. This is the most broken rule in any home. A conversation starts about the dishes in the sink, and somehow, 3 minutes later, it's about your mother, the holiday from 2 years ago, and a tone of voice from this very morning. The moment a disagreement grows extra arms and legs, nobody can win it, because nobody can even find the edges of it anymore. So you name the one thing, the dishes, just the dishes. Everything else is real, and everything else can have its own conversation on its own day. Picture the argument as a single clean circle drawn on the floor. The second you step outside that circle, you're no longer solving the problem. You're just collecting evidence for a trial. Rule 2, and this is the big one, no contempt. This one deserves a hard stop because of everything you can do inside a disagreement. This is the move that does the most quiet, lasting damage. Contempt is not the same as anger. Anger says, I'm upset about this thing that happened. Contempt says, I am better than you. It lives in the I roll. The mocking, sing-song voice, the name-calling, the little laugh that says, well, of course you would think that. And here's why it matters so much. In the research, contempt is the single strongest predictor that a relationship is heading toward breakdown. Stronger than the volume of the fight, stronger than how often a couple argues. When contempt becomes a regular guest in a home, it means something underneath has already started to rot. The good news hiding in that finding is just as powerful. Pull contempt out of your disagreements, and you have removed the most corrosive thing in the room. So watch the shift here, because it is freeing. You can be absolutely furious and still not be contemptuous. You can say, I am really angry about this right now, and your partner still gets to stay your partner. The line you protect is simple. Attack the problem, never the person. The overdraft is the problem. The mess is the problem. Your partner is not the enemy. The moment the target slides from the issue to the human being standing in front of you, you have quietly left the disagreement and started a different, far more dangerous game. Rule 3, the timeout. There is a real physical thing that happens in the middle of a heated argument. Your heart rate climbs, your body floods with stress chemistry, and the calm, reasonable part of your brain quietly goes offline. Researchers have a name for this. They call it flooding. And here is the honest truth about it. When you are flooded, you genuinely cannot problem solve. You do not have access to the wise, patient version of yourself. You are running on the part of the brain that was built to survive a charging threat, not to repair a marriage at the kitchen table. So the move is not to push through it. Pushing through a flood just makes a bigger mess. The move is to pause. You say, I want to keep talking about this, I really do, but I am too flooded to do it well right now. Give me 20 minutes. And then, this next part is everything, you actually come back. A timeout is not storming off. It's not winning the fight by being the one who leaves the room. It is two people agreeing to finish the conversation when both of them have their full brain back online. Picture a kettle screaming on the stove. You do not try to reason with a screaming kettle. You take it off the heat first. Then, when it has settled, you talk. Rule 4. Repair. This is the one almost nobody gets taught, and it may quietly be the most powerful of them all. A repair is any small move mid-argument that says, we are still on the same team here. It can be a softening of the tone, a hand on the shoulder, a small joke that lets a little air back into the room, even a plain, honest, hang on, I think I said that badly, let me try that again. Strong relationships are not the ones that somehow never make a mess. They're the ones that got really, really good at cleaning it up, fast and without shame. Repair is how a fight ends without leaving a scar that you both have to walk around for the next week. And Rule 5, which honestly belongs at the very beginning, the soft startup. How a conversation begins predicts, with surprising accuracy, how that conversation is going to end.
Start with, you always, you never, why do you even bother, and you have lit the fuse before you have said a single real thing. Start soft instead. Hey, can we talk about something? It has been sitting on my mind. Same exact topic, same frustration underneath, completely different doorway in. A harsh startup puts the other person on defense before they even know what the fight is about. A soft one keeps them on your side of the table, where you actually need them. Now let me bring in the thread that has been running quietly underneath all of this. Money. Because so many home arguments wear a dollar sign on the outside. The credit card statement, the spending that feels out of control, the budget that everyone agreed to and nobody actually follows. But here's the reframe, and it is a big one. Most money fights are not really about money at all. They are system fights, wearing a money costume. When there is no shared plan in the home, every single purchase quietly becomes a tiny negotiation, and every negotiation is one more chance to fight. You are not actually arguing about the $40. You are arguing because there is no system in place that already answered the question of the $40 before it ever came up. So watch what happens when you fix the system instead of the spouse. You sit down together once on a calm evening when nobody is upset, and you build the plan side by side. What is ours? What is each of ours? What we are saving toward and why? Who handles which bill? Suddenly, the daily friction just drains out of the room. The decisions were already made in advance, in calm, by both of you. You stopped trying to win the same exhausting argument over and over, and instead, you built something that made that argument unnecessary. Fix the system, not the spouse. That one move quietly ends more home conflict than the cleverest comeback ever could. Now, here's where I want to be straight with you, because these rules can start to sound like a magic formula, and real life is more honest than any formula. These rules are not a trick for making every disagreement vanish, and they are not a clever way to be right more often. Some conflicts are genuinely real. Some run deep into values and history and old wounds, and a handful of simple guardrails will not dissolve them in a single evening. The point of arguing well was never to engineer instant agreement. It's to protect the relationship while the two of you work through the disagreement, however long that honest work takes. The rules exist to keep the people safe enough to keep talking. That is the entire job. Safe enough to keep talking. And maybe that is the quiet thing to carry home tonight.
A peaceful house is not one where nobody ever disagrees. It's one where people learned how to disagree without breaking each other in the process. One topic, no contempt, a timeout when you flood, a repair when you stumble. The problem on the table, the person right beside you, and both of you still on the same team. You will still argue. That part is simply human, and it is completely fine. Just argue like two people who fully intend to stay. Because in the end, the homes that stay calm are not the ones that somehow never fight. They are the ones that learned how to fight well and forgive fast. If something here was useful today, the best thing you can do is use it tonight in one small way. And if you'd like to keep growing with us, you're welcome in our tribe at familycreative.org. It's where we gather the tools and resources we build for people doing this on purpose, and where you can learn more, share what's working, and help someone a few steps behind you. That's the whole point. Small, steady, together. Be kind, try hard, do the work, build the family. We'll see you in the next one.